Good evening, all of you. And I'm so excited today. We have a new guest speaker today, and I must say that we all have to thank her a lot. A, because she agreed to come on our prime time, which is 8 p.m. India time. She's coming right from Australia for us, and it is way, way in the night for her, which is like 1:30 a.m.
1:30.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Shena, for agreeing to that. Really
Yeah,
grateful.
it's my absolute pleasure. In Australian terms, we would call it I'm absolutely stoked. As you can hear in my voice, I
Yes,
might be crackling a bit. It's not the internet, it's actually my voice,
yes.
my vocal cords, but I'll try to make it easier
Don't
for everybody
worry,
to hear me.
you sound absolutely husky and sexy. So, way to go.
Oh, I love that. I'll take that as a compliment.
Yes. So, guys, let me introduce Shehnaz Morkas to you all. She's a well known practitioner and a reputable educator known for her integrative style of teaching. Shehnaz has various international experiences as a presenter and in the treatment of various health conditions. She is a registered practitioner in Australia, UAE, and India and has over 17 years of experience with her clinical practice. Shehnaz has a thriving practice in Brisbane and has worked from many clinics and camps all around Australia. She is the
That's true.
director of Morkere Natural Clinic, influencing a team of other practitioners, including acupuncture, Reiki, homeopathy, naturopathy, massage therapist. Morkare Natural Clinic treats 1,000 plus clients with variety of health condition. Clients are from all over the globe, including Asia, Africa, New Zealand, Europe, America. Shenas enjoys mentoring students and graduates of naturopathy and homeopathy and aspiring naturopaths and homeopaths. Her passion to teach and share knowledge allows her to fulfill her vision of helping people on a large scale. She was the president of Australian Association of Professional Homeopaths from 2010 and 2013, and she has delivered several lectures on clinical topics of varied nature. So I want
Mm,
to welcome Shehnaz to our platform. And today
thank you.
we are actually going to talk about a very, very interesting subject. A lot of us sitting in our respective countries, and I can tell for myself, fantasize of moving abroad and setting up
Correct.
our businesses or careers abroad. The
Correct.
grass, the pastures are so greener when you're sitting here, comparing
True,
our
actually. It's quite true.
infrastructure with the global infrastructure. So we have Shenas on a call today to tell us that what did it take for her to build her journey? Because I know she has a very successful, uh, enterprise running in Australia right now. And was it so green as it appears here from India? So
True.
Shenas, welcome to the show. Please open
Thank
it
you,
for
Hema.
us.
Okay, so the question you asked me is what did it take me to get to me where I am here? Well, I would say I like to start off with the word attitude. Um, I mean, it wasn't by default, all these years, especially when you're studying medicine, studying homeopathy, we had a lot of textbooks to read. But fortunately, before I moved to Australia, I read this book, was called Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. I don't know if you've heard of that book.
Yeah,
And
I've read
in
that.
that, yeah, in that book, I mean, I think that one sentence resonated to me about fear. And I like everybody. I'm, full of fear. Or I don't think I have mastered it yet, but I have acknowledged and recognized fear. And I have learned to deal with fear. And when I first moved to Australia, definitely it was a very frightening experience. It was a very overwhelming experience. But I would not listen to my fear. That inner voice inside me used the word fear into opportunity. So how did I change fear to opportunity is a long story, but funny story as well. But I would say that was probably my key number one.
Amazing, amazing. A lot of times, I think this fear talks to us also, and it'll be interesting to understand how you really didn't listen to it, or did you disregard it, or did you accept it with open arms? But before we get to that, Shehnaz, I want you to begin with, how many years you've been in Australia, and how was a movement? Let's start from there.
Okay, so it's been approximately 16 years, 16 wonderful years, I must say. And to begin with, when I first moved, my husband Altaf, he was studying his MBA. And again, talking about philosophy, I think one of my philosophies I had is I was not very good in procrastinating. So when I first moved, the very first week that I moved in Australia, I told Altaf, I need to work. I can't stay at home. And he was a student, and he was driving a cab at night. And he said, Indian students out here either work in restaurants or they drive cabs. So I said, okay, you drive the cab. I'll probably start working in a restaurant. And for I would say only 2 or 3 weekends, I started working it was a very famous Indian restaurant. It still exists. They had a few branches everywhere, and it was my first day. So first weekend in Australia, I landed up at the Indian restaurant to start work. And because I was new at the job, the first thing they gave me was table service. And a family handed me a bottle of wine. And I'm from India. I'm a doctor and things like that. I don't know what is wine, that kind of thing. And actually, Hema, it was a red wine. And I by default, I thought you're supposed to keep it in the fridge. So I took the bottle of red wine, I put it in the fridge. So next day they didn't give me table service. They gave me to wash glasses. So they say
They
you have
didn't
to
throw you
wash.
out.
Somehow I don't know what it was. I survived. It was only a weekend. And long story short, in fact, I must say that at this stage, the owner of the restaurants are my patients as well. So I must be doing something right. Uh, but even back then, I remember them giving me service to wash the glasses, and it was so easy. All I had to do is put it in the dishwasher and put it on. But I even miserably failed at that. So then came back. I told Altaf, I can't do restaurant. So then the next job that I got into was telemarketing. And it was a telemarketing company in Australia. But that time, the Indian telemarketing had just started. So whenever I used to say hello to somebody on the phone, they used to think I'm calling from India. So before I would say hello, it was like, hello, I'm from Australia, they would actually hang up on me. So I told Altaf, I have no scope here. So then he said, okay, so what are you good at? And then I was thinking to myself, family of doctors. I'm a third generation doctor. I've studied homeopathy for 5.5 years. So my chances of succeeding in homeopathy are much higher. So, so I told Altaf, you know what? I think the chances are I'm going to use homeopathy. And I know homeopathy is a wonderful tool. It's up to me how I can, shine, how I can use the tool, and let's make it happen. So we went looking for homeopaths. We went looking for successful homeopaths. And sadly, I mean, there were some people who were practicing, but they weren't the right kind of role model that we wanted to create. And I always had the value that I want to help people and I want to use the best possible approach. So I would say 5 years, 6 years down the line, I met a few more people. I learned about natural therapies. I learned about acupuncture. I learned about Chinese herbal medicines. And as I started to understand more, I started to understand that this is wonderful, that we as complementary therapists have a wonderful role to play here in Australia. We're not competing against anyone. We have, everything has its place and we absolutely respect that. But homeopathy itself is such a wonderful, and I call it a tool, as most people say, it's a science. Well, it is a science, but having said that, we oftentimes say that, it's not about faith because, like, what a knife does or what a hammer does. And, you don't have to have faith in the hammer or the knife to do the work. It can still destroy or create. Having said that, you need to have, faith and trust in a good workman who can use that tool correctly. And I said, okay, let me start learning to be that workman who can use the tools correctly. And in that journey, I started to learn things about how we can use homeopathy effectively. Where does this actually place in Australian audience lie? And I started to, go about with that.
So, Shenaz, addressing the elephant in the room, because I'm sure a lot of audiences and other doctors and homeopaths will also have this question that, like, India is exceptional. India has a separate position for homeopaths where we have an education for 5.5 years with a regular internship, which is equivalent to modern stream of medicine. A lot
That's
of
true.
other countries may not have that, and so a lot
Correct.
of other countries do not see homeopaths as doctors. So we want to know what was your status when you reached Australia, and how did you end up becoming the president of the Naturopathic Association?
Yeah, homeopathy.
Like, what
Well,
full
well,
step?
that is a really good question, Hema. And I think I would come back to the word, as I said, was attitude. I
Yes.
mean, it was not about people accepting or not accepting. It is about educating people or informing people. And at the end of it, I think results speak for themselves.
Yes.
So, I was obviously passionate about helping people, and I was passionate about helping people in a natural way. And as I was, let's put it that way, I don't think it was a straightforward journey. I think it was a lot of learning curves as well. But having said that, people can sense your passion, and may it be Australia, may it be India, may it be anywhere. I guess it's about how you put your values, how you put your specialization, how you put your understanding forward. And all we do is we care. I mean, Hema, you care. That's why you're doing this, what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
And you're using this tool to care. And you're doing a brilliant job at it.
Thank
So
you.
similarly, all we do is we just show ourselves and let people know that we care and this is what we can provide. And people can definitely follow through. But having said that, you asked me the question about the association.
Yes.
Well, that was another thing. So when I started, understanding about homeopathy, and I started to see some role models and things like that. One of the things Altaf, my beautiful husband, said to me that if you really need to understand the system, you need to be in the system. And I was very blessed. I was very fortunate that I came across AAPH, which is Australian Association of Professional Homeopaths, and that was Queensland's the oldest homeopathic association. If I'm not mistaken, it was founded in 1974. So homeopathy has been around in Australia for that long as well, or maybe longer. And as I came across committee members and met most people, I learned the Constitution. I tried to understand, what does the Constitution, what are the values of homeopathy hold in Australia. I started to learn and adapt to it. And I remember I grew from the newsletter editor to being the vice president in 3 years' time. And can you hear me? I think it's dropped off. Has it dropped off?
Ah, Malum.
Yes, I'm back on. Eh,
Yeah, I
All
think
right,
it's the internet playing a havoc today.
that's all right. I mean,
No, no, it's
I
mine.
was
I don't think it's yours.
I was gonna say, I mean, that's probably what the topic is, isn't it? Building against adversities.
Yeah, yeah,
So things can be thrown at us, but we can just keep moving, eh?
yeah. True.
So
Yes.
as we was, so where were we actually?
You
Yeah,
were
so
saying.
the association, and then what happened is I moved from being the newsletter editor, learning, adapting. In 3 years' time, I became the vice president, And the night of the AGM, I was actually meant to step down from the association completely. And then that night, I remember there was something in the constitution that mentions that the vice president gets a chance to be re-elected and stood up as a president. And when that offer was given to me, I remember everyone looking at me. And in my head, I had the voice telling me that I was here to step down, I was here to quit. And they asked me, would you like to be the president? I'm thinking, quit, 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 quit. And I said, yes, I'd love to be the president. And I surprised myself. I said, I don't know, how did I not listen to that negative inner voice? And I became the president. And I was I would say, successful president for almost 3 years. The first year was amazing because I think I was the first female president. I was the first president from a ethnic background who didn't speak Australian English.
Amazing.
And yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Amazing, amazing. That is really inspiring. So what I understand from this is, if you want to excel in the system, get in the system. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so this brings me to my next question. How, and this is a generic question for anybody who would want to look at coming abroad, setting up a career or business. How do you culturally adapt to that particular place?
Good question. I would say that the best way to adapt is to let go of your past, because oftentimes we live a lot in a past and a future. And as we're moving through life, things change. Like, change is the most constant thing that happens. And
Yeah.
as change is actually occurring, we need to learn to, what's the word, be more present, understand what the current situation needs. You know what I mean? So it's more like live in the now. And as you live in the now, you can understand what things are happening culturally.
So, also, it'll be interesting for me to understand, because my work allows me to travel a lot as well. And culturally, countries can be very different. I mean, some things can be
Correct.
very okay in your culture, but not very acceptable in some other culture, just
Mhm.
because, just because it's the norm. So, did you do your homework to go back and study how Australians were, how you should behave? Is that necessary? Required?
Good, good question. I would think not. I think the best learning is through practical for sure.
Yeah.
And let's put it this way, I don't think I've changed much. Like if you go to see culturally, I still think I have a very heavy Indian accent.
Yes, you
You know
do.
what I mean? So in that situation, I'm not changing, but I am proud of my culture. I'm, I'm proud that I'm born in India. India is such a beautiful country. We are so culturally diverse in India itself. The other day I was actually checking that Bombay's population density just for 1 kilometer is 34,000,
Yeah.
while Sydney is only 426.
Yeah.
You know
It's
what I mean? So you're learning so much in Bombay itself.
yeah.
You
It's
know what I
like
mean?
a
So
small Australia. So I always tell my work colleagues who are based out of Australia as well. You know, the Australia is almost like Mumbai. So yes, population wise, India is wide and diverse. You're right on that.
and I guess as I was saying the before thing is that oftentimes when people move houses, there is a term that they use very often is homesickness. And I
Yeah.
always tell
I
people that it's a
I I feel I am of that.
yeah, and the truth is you make your home again. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. You live in the now. You don't live in the past. You can, I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, I know so many Indians out here who are still doing Garba, like for Navratri. I'm getting their, Facebook
Yeah.
post, and we celebrate Diwali. We celebrate Eid. We're doing everything out here, and it's really up to us.
Hmm. Right. True.
Mm.
So, tell me, if somebody wants to, somebody is now in India and is looking at going abroad and setting up a business, what are the kind of challenges they should anticipate? And I don't mean this.
Correct.
I don't mean to generalize this, but I want you to tell us based on your experience.
Okay, it's a good question. Let's put it this way again, I'm probably the philosophy keeps coming back again. I think every challenge, Hema, we learn a lesson.
Yeah.
So if I'm registering challenges, I'd probably find that, it's going to be hard. But I think if we set our goal and we know where we want to go, every challenge we face, I guess, will look like an opportunity. So I know I'm sounding very philosophical, but if like it's it I mean you would have things like finances and a COVID and global financial crisis and I don't know. I mean I didn't personally experience racism per se because again I don't take that as a problem. But having said that, I would say if someone were to start a business here in Australia or maybe any country, I think if they're very clear in knowing what they want to offer, knowing their values, delivering their service to their very best, no matter where they go, they're going to succeed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. That does.
It's like it's not like looking at small pictures, it's looking at the bigger
Yeah,
picture.
yeah. You said it in one breath, but I know that's not so easy. I mean, you do
True.
it, you learn by doing it. Yeah,
And,
true.
and like it comes back to that, as I said, the inner voice. There's so many times I must have achieved a failure. So many times I felt like giving up. There's so many times, when people would have said to me, "I can't do it," or "I don't have it in me." I'm sure, I heard that many a times.
Yes.
But when I went to bed, I wouldn't register that as my problem. Do you know what I mean? I would get back next morning and try again.
And tell us something about, and I'm talking this in a very practical sense about things like housing and taxes. And because you opened your clinic, I don't know
Correct.
what do you call it, center, which is thriving, and you
Correct.
have patients all over. So talk
Correct.
to us a little about the complexities that goes in managing all that. Your housing, your taxes, a new country, the legal issues that may come up when patients kind of interact with you.
Well, as I probably said to you, I said the very first thing before we started the clinic itself was understanding how it works. So the legalities was not the number one thing that we actually went into.
Okay.
And the Australian government websites are really well
Yeah.
explained. Like everything out there is explained to the T.
Mm.
So understanding where you want to go, the first thing you want to have a look at is the legal side. A second thing I would probably say is it's really good to have a good team because I'm not a master of everything. And while I'm good in helping people and healing people,
Mm.
I have a very good team of practitioners and administration staff who help me at every level. So we always do checkups. We always do like a health check for the
Yeah.
clinic as well,
Mm.
and we check what is missing, what's happening,
Mm.
and if there are problems, then there are problems. As I said, you could call it problems, or you could call it challenges, or you call it learning steps.
Mm.
And there are a lot of those that keep coming up as you're
Right.
growing. But all we do is we try to
Mm.
adapt, we try to learn, and we try to improvise.
Mm. So this is very interesting. So invest in a good team is also one of the very important things because, like Shena said, you don't want to end up doing it all and knowing it all. You can have great people around you who can help you do that, uh, and also understand the legal system like they did. uh, yeah, that kind of sums up quite a bit because these are the few things that really matter, when you shift countries. And tell us, I understand there were a lot of challenges, and now you look like a very successful person, staying in a very glamorous country with a very glamorous background right now. But tell us, did that come easy? What were your
Um,
odds?
I would say no, but having said that, I wouldn't think, again, I would want at this moment, whoever's listening, I want them to follow their dreams. as this public thing says at the back as well. Because again, I would like people to be more focused on their values and their dreams rather than focusing on the problems. You know, Hema, there is a saying. Um, I don't know. I'll just read it out. He slept beneath the moon. He basked beneath the sun. He lived a life of going to do and died with nothing done. And I remember reading that saying
So
in one
beautiful.
of the old chemistry books. You know, when you're practicing chemistry sums and things like that. And I mean, I must be only like 10, 12 or something. But I mean, that time it meant nothing to me. But today I think it's such an important thing. People have dreams, people have passions, and all they hear is a problem. You can't do this. You can't do this. It's not successful. You can't be happy. As I told you earlier as well, I remember how many people came and said to me, "You can never be successful. There's no such thing as homeopathy in Australia.
I've
Australian
heard that.
Australian people, yeah, Australian people are very hard, And I would say that I'm so blessed that I have such wonderful Australian friends. I have such loyal Australian patients. I have people who are from up north Queensland who are farmers, and they call them as rednecks, and I would say that they're one of my most loyal patients who absolutely, would do as everything I ask them to do. But at the same time, I value their trust in me. So it goes very mutual, you know what I mean? So answering your question, I really want people to follow their dreams. I want people to um, not be problem focused, but be solution focused.
Oh, that's so amazing. So I have a question in audience, and Nilesh is asking us, how is settling in Australia for a medico versus a creative person? Maybe he's talking about his own industry, media person. Can
Sure.
you throw some light? Can you?
Um, I mean, look, Nilesh, I would say that, again, every city in Australia is very different. And Melbourne and Sydney are far more culturally diverse cities, and there is more scope for work out there. Having said that, I moved to Queensland where there was nothing. So if you know that you're really good in what you do and you can prove your worth, I'm sure every city, every corner of Australia will accept you.
Hmm. Interesting. So there's another question from audience which says that how difficult is it to settle there? Do Indians have to face a lot of difficulties?
Um, Again, I cannot speak for every Indian who's been here,
Yeah.
but I would definitely say that challenges are there everywhere, even if you move from one city of India to the other. Um, I would say, again, you got to pursue your dream, you got to pursue your passion, be yourself, be your genuine self, and you will overcome obstacles along the way.
So I think there's a follow-on question asking: are Indians treated, are respected?
Definitely. I would say it has nothing to do with me being a medic or anything of that sort.
Hmm.
I would say respect is a mutual thing. If I'm going to be respecting my people, my patients, if I'm going to be respecting someone walking on the street, naturally the respect's going to be coming back through. If I'm going to smile, someone's going to smile back.
Yeah. So there's another question that says, what are the efforts to remain in the present challenges rather than being in the past or the future? Because I see that you're in the present reference point. That's a
Well,
good question.
I love that question. I
Yeah.
must say, it comes from again a lot of learning and practice. You know how
Mhm.
they say that books can change your life, and that is something that I do all the time. Is I love reading books. I love listening to books. Um, One of the books called Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. He talks a lot about being in the present. If I'm not mistaken, even I remember even Dalai Lama did say about something about living in the present and saying that if people live in the past and the future, all they can see is diseases and sickness and grief and misery and anxiety. So there are a lot of beautiful people constantly talking about living in the now. There are lots of books written about it. It's about practice. It's about believing it and practicing it every day.
So, is there a particular thing that you do normally to come back, pull you back to the present?
I think books again, and every year, Hema, I also do these courses called Unleash the Power Within by Tony Robbins. I've done the course almost like 3 years now in a row, and there are a lot of
Yeah.
exercises, and they make you do, and it trains you, it challenges you. Like you cry, you laugh, you sing, you dance, and they challenge you to be in the now. And it comes from it's like exercising a muscle,
Yeah, yeah. It's almost how you go to gym every day. You have to keep exercising, being in the present. Yeah,
being in the
that's a good
present.
one. So there's another question. What made you choose Australia out of all the countries?
Well, that was by default. My husband moved to Australia to do his MBA, and and we chose, and he came to Brisbane. So we haven't moved cities. We've always lived in Brisbane, and it wasn't by choice, but as I said earlier, I made this my home.
Hmm. Yeah. Very good. Yeah, this is and tell me one thing. I'm going to ask you a little technical question for people who don't know things about visa requirements or other administrative requirements around a particular country. And
Sure,
like personally, if you ask me, I'm very overwhelmed with it because if you look
correct.
outside, there are so many consultants. It's almost like I'm putting my hand on my head and sitting and thinking, oh my god, kitna kaam hai ye. So, what's your take on that?
Okay, so are you talking about just for visiting or more settling, permanent residency? What would be your thing?
Permanent residency, I'm talking.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So for permanent residency, again, there are a lot of different ways. Again, I'm not a,
Yeah, yeah, you're not a consultant.
migration
Yeah, and
agent,
please
but
don't quote her. We are just asking her experience.
yeah. So there are one of the best ways I would still say is come to Australia first, live here for some time. If you have the opportunity, see if you could work here for some time. Give yourself at least 6 months to 1 year to see how you go about it. Because when the initial stages are always the hardest, and once you've crossed your 6 months, and you say, okay, you know what, I'm enjoying Australia, I'm loving Australia now. That's when I would say someone should start going looking for the next step, such as PR. Because oftentimes people go directly for PR,
Yeah,
and then they come to the country and they go like, oh, what have I done here?
yeah,
You know what I mean? So sometimes people's goals need to be a little bit more clearer. First experience, see how you go, and then make a decision about permanent residence.
yeah. I think that makes sense. First, be clear about your goals, experience it, whether you really like to be here all your life and shift permanently, and then actually go for the process. So,
That's true.
Shahnaz, we come to a question where we want to know what's your advice for people who are planning.
Mhm.
They are mulling the idea of starting a business abroad or starting up something
Wonderful.
not in the country. What's your idea? What's your
Wonderful.
advice to
Go for
them?
it.
Yeah,
I
is
would
the
say go
pasture
for it.
as green as we think? When we see our potholes on the road, we say, "Oh my God, we all should go abroad."
Well, that's true. I mean, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Business is different and potholes is different. You know
Yes.
what I mean? I would say definitely living in a country overseas is a wonderful experience just by itself. Obviously, it's cleaner and greener, but also the quality of life is really good. But having said that, I would gonna say like, in India is a beautiful country. There's so
Yes.
much to learn from India as well. Do you know what I mean? I think today, if anything, I'm successful in Australia is because of my Indian education, and I value that completely.
Yeah.
I value every challenges, every difficulty, every amazing experience we've had in India, because today it makes me value it even more here. The fact that I have a garage, the fact that I don't have a pothole. Do you know what I mean? Like it makes
Yeah.
me value everything to the T.
So I have an interesting question for you. The audience asking you, would you like to come back to India if you get an opportunity?
Why not?
Ah,
I would like to expand. Let's put it that way. I would
okay.
like to expand my business. I would like to, because let's put it this way. I feel that we're doing something right here in Australia.
Yeah.
I know we're doing something right in Brisbane. And if I can use the same success formula and help
Right.
people in India, why not?
Right. So, Shehnaz, thank you so much. What would be your last few words to our audiences? Anything you like to tell them? Any
Lastly, I think I've
message?
said quite a few words,
Yeah.
but
Any?
again, maybe follow your dream.
Yeah.
Like I said, just go for it.
Yeah. So I think I've had quite a bit of insight because there is no such thing as not successing if you have made up your mind that you want to succeed, and especially if you want to move places. It is always nice if you get into the system. I love that. I think I'll take that with me. So get in the system to actually be a part of the system to succeed therein and follow your dreams.
Yeah, and I guess even knowing what you're good at, Hema, I think you know what I'm saying. Oftentimes we don't really pay attention to our own merits.
Yeah.
If you know what you're good at,
Hmm.
use it.
Hmm. Hmm. Lots to think about. Thank you so much, Shenaz.
Absolute
It
pleasure.
was such a pleasure having you, and I must say thank you for accommodating the time zone differences here.
Anytime,
And
anytime.
hopefully, your voice will get back soon.
I know, I
Yeah.
know.
So, for people who are watching us for the first time, I am Dr. Hima Viraj. I'm a homeopath as well, and our channel is called Lose Your Blues. We invite people who make different choices, and they help us to know a little bit more about their perspective and their vision, and we also get to know about new things. So, if you know someone who can get featured, or if you think you want some topic for us to take up, please let us know. Please reach out to me in the comments. And we will see you again next week, same day, same time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. See ya.